My name is Elspeth Beard and I rode my BMW R60/6 around the world in the early 80s from 1982 to 1984. I was on the road for just over 2 years and I covered 35,000 miles. And at the time I did the trip, I found out that I had become the first British woman to ride a motorbike around the world. I think at the time when I got back in 1984, I sort of always intended to write a book, but there was very little interest in what I'd done when I got back. But I always felt it was sort of unfinished business, really. And I always felt that I did have a story to tell, and it was an important story, and an important story for women. The fact that you know, a woman can ride around the world on a motorbike. And actually, in some ways, it's quite nice writing a book 35 years later, because you can look back at what the trip gave you and how it changed you and what you got out of the trip and how you used what you learned during the trip during the rest of your life. I mean, all my work in my architecture, a lot of the things I learned about myself and when I was travelling have, you know, it sort of made me the person I am and you know, set me up for life, really. But it takes that amount of time, I think, to make sense of a trip like that as well, because when you first get back you're so confused, you know, you don't feel as if you fit in anywhere, nobody can understand what you've done, you can't actually relate to anybody, and so you're all in a bit of a mess. But somehow 35 years later you've managed to make sense of it all. I think the main thing that I learned on my trip is that I could do anything. There was nothing I couldn't cope with and nothing I couldn't deal with. There was no problem that can't be solved. You just sometimes have to approach things in a different way. And that was probably the most valuable thing I learned on my trip. And I also learned that, you know, because I pushed myself and I was tested to my absolute limits. And I think that's important for you to know how far you can be pushed and tested to. So that was a valuable lesson as well that I learned.